Welcome to the Lightworker Podcast. I am your host, Natalie Ubl Grant. I am a lightworker, a meditation facilitator, Reiki master, and a health and wellness enthusiast who thrives on helping people. Connection is my superpower, and I just love bringing people to a space where transformation can occur. Are you looking for information on being a lightworker? Are you a lightworker and just love collecting knowledge from other lightworkers? Then this space is made especially for you. I hope you enjoy today's episode.
Probably September next year.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So that's going to be, Glastonbury and Stonehenge and Avebury, and also my parents owned a place in Devon, in Dartmouth.
Yes.
So taking the steam train down and riverboat back to go over old ground for me, and also Tintagel, Merlin's Cave. Yeah.
Amazing.
I know.
And retrace your roots.
Yes, retrace my roots, and I haven't been back to the UK for quite a number of years, so I'm really excited about it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it just feels time.
It's time.
I
wonder what codes you're going to pick up when you're
I know, yeah.
Because that's the physical lineage then.
It is the physical lineage, and it's just been calling, and I'm like, whoa. And a friend of mine also, who lives in France, came on the Peru trip. I hadn't seen her since, oh gosh, we would have been in our late teens, early 20s.
Yep.
And she had a journey with breast cancer, and she went, no, I'm going to come to Peru and do that journey. So she was the one that really sparked it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because she was saying, oh, why don't you come? We'll go back to the south of France, and we'll meet up with all the old people, old friends, and that they're still in contact with. So that was what sparked it initially. But even before that, I think there was like a real yearning to go to these sacred places,
yes,
which, I was never, I just wasn't at that stage in my journey when I was growing up, obviously. So, yeah, it's really pulling strong, that King Arthur energy, that Avalonian energy, very strong.
Yeah, cool. I wonder what's going to happen for you when you're there. Because it's so interesting. I've heard other people's stories about when they arrive and actually put their foot. Actually, you'd be able to see Amanda's story, which is a few episodes back. The Celtic Rose, Amanda from Light of Alchemy. She had, when she went back, her channel just opened, and she didn't know the place, but she knew which shop she needed to go into. She knew which person she had to talk to.
Sure. And
this whole thing unraveled for her when she arrived and planted one foot on the soil.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's is a really cool, cool story. So it's that you never know what's going to happen.
No, not at all. Because I never thought that I would do something like that. But one of the girls that came on the Peru trip, she, like, this is how insane it is, hey? We know how it works, right? So I get back from Peru, and she contacts me, and she goes, if ever you want any help with putting together a retreat, because one of the blockages has been not enough time to research it and do it.
Yeah.
I really would be more than happy to help. And I know that you mentioned about, doing a trip, doing a retreat to England, to UK. But it was so Pacific as well, where we were to go.
Yeah.
Dum, 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 dum. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
And she was like, wow, okay, you already know. And I went, yeah, this is how it happens for me. It's very clear.
Yeah.
And it's very quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's for anyone who's having these experiences that's hearing this, because there are a lot of people that are having their awakenings and then they're having these strange things happen.
Yeah.
And then they're finding people like you and I to try and make sense of how crazy you start sounding.
Yeah.
Oh, hubby, I'm just going to go off and do this. Do you know?
Yeah. I've got this calling.
Yeah, I have to go. But if you can follow those urges, those prompts, and you'll know if it's guidance because it's so strong and you just cannot get it out of your head. It will show you the path that you need to be on. It will actually guide you to where it is that you are headed, and it's inevitable. You can either go kicking and screaming, or you can grab the reins and just go for it.
And I really think that is becoming a whole lot clearer for people these days as well. Like you say, people are waking up so much faster than you and I, for example, and that guidance is crystal clear.
Yeah.
And I think because it comes in so fast, people then second guess it because they just go, oh,
yeah,
really?
Yeah.
And that, they sort of get all anxiety around it, and but when it's been so crystal clear, how can it not be?
Well, yeah, I always say to people, if you could think of anything, would that be it? If you're making it up, because that's one of the questions they're like, am I making this up?
Yes.
And that's my question to them. If you could make anything up, would this be it?
Yeah.
Like try and get them out of their logic.
Yes.
And then it's always no. Well, then could you activate curiosity and just walk the path and see what happens? Rather than talking yourself out of it, what if you just did it?
Yeah.
What have you got to lose? Because we get to live this life. And some of the time with being spiritual, or being on a spiritual path, people sort of get caught in that I'll be happy when.
Yeah.
I've got to keep healing before I'm happy.
Yeah.
And that's not true.
No.
You can be happy now.
Yeah.
If you can find the now.
Yeah.
And you can get out of your head and be here in the present moment and look at all of the options that are available to you and give yourself the time. If you need a couple of weeks to think about, I've had this download, I need to go to the UK, you don't have to action it tomorrow.
No, that's right.
But it's what would happen if you just put some energy in that direction and just saw these signs and symbols, like you were saying. Then you find this person. If you were going to take someone on a tour, I'd be happy to help.
I know.
So then there are these breadcrumbs that start to kind of be put in your path if you just give it some attention, and especially if you get that lighter feeling in your body, like this actually feels like a good thing to do. Sometimes it could be a scary thing to do, but just because it's scary doesn't mean that it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
And that can take a bit of time for you to sit with, to figure out,
to unravel that, whether it is real fear or whether it's just actually excitement around what if that actually happened.
It's that a lot of the time it's that jaguar jumping across the cavern. It's like, what if I did just jump?
Yeah.
What would happen then in my life?
Yeah. And I think I really want to say this as well.
I'd love you to.
Is that when I'm, quite often I seem to be working with people who really want to leave their current lives, right? Maybe they're working in corporate world.
Yeah.
Maybe they've got a really good and high-paying job, but they're not happy, and they really want to change their life. And that's where the fear comes in, because they don't want to let go of that financial security, and they've been doing maybe I mean, often it's spiritual work that they want to move into, but maybe not. Maybe it's just a change.
Yeah.
That maybe isn't as financially viable as what they're doing right now, and so they don't do anything because they just stay stagnant and stuck, and they just go, oh well, I can't because of XYZ. And I want to say to anybody out there that's thinking like that, you don't have to do it all at once. You can do it gradually. Maybe you just start off doing the odd, for example, healing session at a weekend, and then so you start to dip your toes in it, and then, usually that's where your passion grows,
Yeah.
and then gradually you can shift, and it doesn't feel so scary to let go of that over there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or you get to the point where, which in my case, I was keeping my day job and doing my spiritual job.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I couldn't keep doing both. I don't know how, but somehow I managed to be able to do so much,
Yeah.
But it was so scary letting go.
Yes, hugely scary.
Of that other job. But yes, I've heard, and I've had lots of students through my courses, and one of the things that seems to be common when they've transitioned from their corporate or day job, whatever it is, in my case it was beauty therapy, into whatever else it is that they're going to be doing, and that could be anything, from a personal trainer to a Pilates instructor to a yogi to a Reiki practitioner, whatever it is. What was interesting was to just ask for help from their spirit team and ask for the guidance that's going to show them, if this is the path for you, what's my next step? Give me the next step. And a lot of them, what they did was they just would put aside one day where they would do the dream job and do that, like what you were saying. And then gradually that would get busy. So then they could ask for another day off from their other job.
Yes. Yeah.
And then they'd either have that day off or they'd get more people to come on that other day, until what ended up happening was that they were doing their day job for 2 days a week and their dream job for 3 or 4 days a week, and then they could see that they could financially shift.
And it's about self-belief. Hey, it's definitely the Jaguar energy of self-mastery.
Yes.
I can do this. I love this. This is my passion, because Jaguar is about passion as well. And Jaguar is also about what part of yourself needs to die in order for you to step into this version of you.
It's just really letting go of a part of yourself that has supported you for so long, has kept you safe, has looked after you. And that can be all sorts of things, like letting go of different ways and different perspectives to look at the way that you perceive your reality, not even to do with work, just how you perceive life. You have to, yes, I like that. Something has to die.
That what part of you needs to die, so if you're a workaholic, and you are going to be doing any type of work with people, to be genuine and authentic, you've got to back it off a little bit. Otherwise, you're not going to be genuine. You're just going to be burnt out.
Absolutely.
So that's another learning curve for me in my life anyway, for sure. And I'm sure for you as well, Nat. Tackling the two balls.
Well, and it's funny because then I went and dove long into teaching Reiki.
Yes.
And gave it so much energy, and it was flat out, which is probably what happened with you when you were on the trips. And then all of a sudden, everything came to a screeching halt. And it's interesting because then that will actually take you into fear again.
Yes, so much.
Right? And another part of me had to die in order to birth a new way of doing what I do. Because I'd gotten to the point where through the practice of teaching, I'd actually learned a ton about what this path is that we are walking as spiritual practitioners. You know, like where are the pitfalls and what are the when you get caught in the jaguar circle, you know, like where are these things and what does it look like and what does the actual path look like? And I'd learned a lot. I actually needed time to integrate what I'd learned.
Yeah.
You know, and so I had to actually take a bit of a step back, which the universe provided me with the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
And so I was working a little bit less, which then allowed that space for reflection.
Which is so important.
I actually really needed. So would you say that that's something that happened for you
Definitely,
as well?
yeah. It's fairly recently, yeah. I felt like all doors that were currently open were now closed.
Yeah. And it's scary.
Yes, and I went, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder what I'm meant to be doing now. And then I did go into some fear around it as well. And then I was like, it's okay. You've been here. You've actually been here before.
Yeah.
This is familiar territory. That's why you're going into fear. And so I just relaxed and, like you say, gave myself the time to kind of actually give myself some space. And I realised as well, and this is where hummingbird comes in.
Oh, do tell. So tell us about the hummingbird.
The hummingbird is about the joy and the sweetness and the nectar of life. And I realised that I had become so busy that there wasn't much time for fun.
Yeah.
You know, not that I didn't enjoy my work. I love my work, you know, but what about personal time?
Yes.
Where's Karen time?
Yeah.
Where's the Karen time? It was non-existent.
Yeah, okay.
It really was non-existent. It was like...
So the balance was off.
Yeah, the balance was really off. And you know, that was presented to me in lots of, you know, that message was presented in lots of different ways. You know, so I was then able to go, okay, I've got to have more balance, you know, I have to have more balance. And so, for example, this year before I'm going to Peru, I'm actually going to Florida with my partner.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that is personal time.
Just to have a holiday.
Yeah.
Go sit on a beach.
Yeah, his family lives over there, so, you know, like that's what I'm doing, you know. And I was like, wow, it's taken me all these years. He goes back usually every year, and I never go with him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why?
Why? Isn't it weird?
Why? I can work that in.
Yeah.
You know, I can work that in. So
that's amazing.
I hopefully can get there.
Oh yeah,
with the planes,
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like I'm not going. So yeah, I'm sure it's going to happen. But that's the hummingbird energy. Is like, okay, if you feel like all of the joy has been sucked out of your life, you know, it's time to really take stock, because, you know, we see it all around us. You know, you can, you know, be here one day and gone the next. You know, people can just
poof off and not be here.
That's right.
And we assume everyone's going to be around forever, but not necessarily.
No, that's right. And that includes ourselves. So,
absolutely,
you know, if you are not fulfilling every aspect of your life, it's time to journey with hummingbird, you know. And hummingbird is just such a beautiful light energy as well. So you're starting to journey with the upper world then with the hummingbird, because the hummingbird doesn't fly backwards and only drinks from the nectar of the flower. Doesn't drink from anything dead. So where are you still drinking from something that's already past its use by date?
Yeah, okay.
You know, where are you filling your life up with something that's just dead and decaying? You know?
Yeah.
And where do you need to feed yourself with that beautiful nectar of the hummingbird?
So ask yourself. It's a really good question.
It is.
Yeah.
Super good question, you know, because like I think that's where a lot of people are at right now, especially with this return of the fear and the control, looming for
It's a different
everyone.
energy this time, though.
Different,
You can
yes.
see the carrot being dangled, but I'm not seeing people take it.
No,
They're if anything, there's more anger,
yeah,
which to me is a good thing.
yes,
Because if there's anger, then there's an urge to change something.
yeah,
Whereas if we stay in fear and helplessness and out of control, we kind of just give the reins over and let things around us happen without creating the changes that we know we need to do to make our lives sweeter.
yeah,
Yeah. Instead, we sort of sit and wallow in that jaguar circle.
Yeah.
Without actually creating the change. And it is up to us to create the change.
Yeah, most definitely.
Each of us individually. There's no savior coming. There's no one going to save us. We have to save ourselves.
Definitely.
And there's different ways that you can do that. But the main thing is that you kind of just continue to walk in that direction.
Yeah, and I think, the slowing down and self-reflection is so important
It
to,
actually really is.
yeah, and sitting in nature and being in nature and walking in nature just grounds you with all this craziness that's going on.
Yeah.
And
listen when you're there. Listen to what the tree says. Listen to what the earth is saying to you. Actually hear even what the wind is trying to tell you by feeling in your body and using all of your senses.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people don't know, what does that look like?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So it looks like for me actually being there, present, and deeply listening into my internal space and noticing if there's fear chatter that's there and pushing it aside and listening for the other stuff that's there.
Yeah.
And what I'm always listening for is the gentle, loving voice that's present, particularly in nature. The one that actually does have our back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's there if you'll let yourself stay out of any stories that the mind wants to offer you. Just for a minute. It doesn't have to be long. But you will hear it. And then if you can practice that, like do it for a couple of minutes a day, you'll start hearing that there is actually hope and there is beauty and there is goodness in the world and that we can create all of that. We don't have to buy into any fear narrative.
And, we're not separate from nature. Nature is one with us, which is why it's so important that we are a voice for Mother Earth, I mean, because, if we keep destroying all of the trees and, decimating the land, we're actually destroying ourselves, it's crazy. Yeah. But when I'm out in nature, particularly if I'm with water, I think water has its own consciousness now. Always has had.
I think it's always had.
Yes, always has had.
There's some beautiful
we've
humans.
Become a bit more aware of it.
Yeah.
Veda Austin, if you've never heard of her, check her work out. It's very fascinating, the work that she's doing. But as part of my walk out in nature, if I'm by water, I will always, if I'm not going in the water, I will always put some either on my head or on my third eye, because water has codes in it.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So it's,
especially if it's come from a creek, a fresh flowing creek. But even if it,
it holds the ancient wisdom. And, again, this oneness connection with water,
yes.
Around the world, the oceans.
Well, it's even in the air around us. It's in the vapor.
Yeah.
It's there. We breathe it in.
Yeah.
Our skin absorbs it. Yeah. It's everywhere. And actually, Veda Austin's stuff is actually quite remarkable. She's sort of taken Dr. Emoto's stuff to the next
Yeah,
level.
to the next level, yeah.
And I love her parameters are that something has to show up more than 50 times for her to see it as being a thing or true, which is a pretty decent amount of experiments to see a repetitive pattern in something, to help us as humans really understand that these bodies that are 70 to 90% water are holding codes too.
Yeah.
And holding knowledge, ancient wisdom, because water just keeps recycling.
Yeah.
In the atmosphere, we get born, we're absorbing all of this energy from all around us all of the time. So we actually have got wisdom in us from the ancestors, from those who've come before us, that, you know, perhaps we're getting that internal information from the water. You know, like I'm still open to, I have definitely am not at a point where I can say I know everything.
Yeah, I think more of that's going to unfold.
I think the more you learn, the less you know.
Yeah, that's right.
But the more curious you're willing to be, and you're willing to actually hear people out who have lived experience with things. And we're actually really lucky to live in a time where there's a lot of voices sharing their lived experience now, which is why I like doing this podcast.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Because I feel so grateful to know such amazing humans.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of them, you know, personally, who have had some unbelievable life experiences. And I mean, your story is one of those stories that you go from being a Pilates instructor to someone who is taking tours to Peru and is a shaman and is teaching people the rights.
Yeah.
You know, and you're changing lives because you're offering information that lands for people. You're offering safe spaces where people can explore themselves, and whether that's one-on-one, because you still do those, don't you?
Yeah, I still do one.
So one-on-ones or in groups, and, you know, those spaces are valuable spaces for the people that get to cross your path.
Yeah.
And I get to talk to these amazing humans and get them to share their fun. And it's fun because you feel lighter when you know that what you've done for yourself has helped you, and then you know that the information you're sharing could help someone if they chose to take it on board, but you know it's their choice.
Yes, very much so, yeah. And the final one of the power angles of Inca shamanism is the condor.
Tell us about the condor. I think we've got a few more minutes before we
condor is really when you've reached that point where you know that you're on the right path and you can observe from above and you find it easy to detach. Pause.
Because I really want to hear this.
And so it's the ability to fly wing to wing with the Great Spirit.
Yes.
That's what it is. It's like when you feel that flow, you know when you're in flow. You know when you're in flow. You know when you are in proper relationship with Mother Earth and Father Sky and the galactics, as above, so below. You know when you are journeying with Condor. Condor has great clarity and great vision, and so it's when things just continually, it's the breadcrumbs
are falling into
place, and you haven't done anything. It just comes into your path.
Yeah.
And there is nothing more for you to do than just fly with the condor.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful. It's definitely higher consciousness, upper world energy. And it's when, usually when we are working with condor, we're at the next level of our journey. So Nat and I were talking even before that we started this podcast, how we can feel a shift in our own work as well.
Yeah, definitely. There's another shift,
yeah.
And it feels like that's the shift that it's heading to.
Yeah,
is that really like what is the next up level kind of thing?
Because we're the bridge generation, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, I talked about the chasm, but, you know, also the bridge, you know, crossing the bridge from the old to the new.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can get halfway on that bridge and get cold feet, you know, before you get to that other side, you know. And that's where we're at right now. But I think people like Nat and myself are helping people to cross that bridge.
Definitely.
You know?
And that might be why we're sort of still sitting where we are, because there's still more people that need to come
across the bridge. Yeah.
You know, and it's just working out, because I'm always asking, how can I be of service?
Yeah.
You know, and how can I also fulfill my own needs?
Yeah.
And you're right, it feels very much like we're still reaching that hand out, because where we're going, people, once you kind of get, and correct me if I'm wrong, but once you get to that condor stage, because you are firmly in flow, there's going to be less need for healing.
Yeah.
Because everybody's kind of gotten to the point where they realize they're part of that one source, which
Yes.
took me a long time to work that out.
Yeah.
And to embody it, you know. And I'm watching a lot of people work it out and embody it in 12 months now.
Yes.
Which took me 25 years,
It's
you
like,
know. I'm like, wow, you can do what? Oh, really? And then they talk, and it's like they've known it for years, but they only worked it out yesterday. Like, it's actually amazing to watch.
Yeah.
So you can tell there's an energy urge behind all of this. There's a push that humans are getting this opportunity.
Yeah.
To
our
face the fear and
multi-dimensional self.
go into that. Yeah, which is so cool.
Mm.
Well, Karen, thank you very much for coming and being on this podcast with
Thank
me.
you
Sharing
so much.
As
It's
you
been
have.
really so much fun. Hey.
Yeah, and I'll put some ways that you can connect with Karen into the show notes. So thank you.
Thank you.
If you enjoy this podcast, remember to like and subscribe and share it with someone that you think would benefit from this. Follow us on Spotify and all the podcasting apps that you may listen to your favourite podcasts through. The more we share these podcasts, the further the messages of the stories of awakening are spread. It's happening all over the world now. People are awakening, and it's an exciting time to be alive. The content found within these podcasts are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. Nothing on this website is intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any physical or medical conditions. If you have any physical or medical conditions, you should seek the advice of your medical professional immediately. These podcasts have a meditative effect, so please never drive a vehicle while listening to Guided Meditation Podcast.